The Thunder defense locked the Wolves out of the paint. Is it a permanent ban, or can Anthony Edwards find an answer? The debate over SGA's whistle certainly didn't get quieter last night. Is Tyrese Haliburton actually the Pacers' weak link against the Knicks? And LeBron James says the Celtics, they're bored. Is the cure a Tatum and Brown split? I'll ask Matt and Hayes all of that and more today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Doug, I've decided that I'm going to change my profession. I'm joining the officiating, and I'm just going to become an NBA official. It's going to take years of training, but my mission is to do that because apparently all I have to do is constantly blow it whenever anyone falls down, and I will have done my job. It seems like a good gig.
Oh, congratulations, Matt Moore, finally becoming a zebra. Well, at least just document it, document the process, and bring it to the show. That's all I ask you, is to create sweet, sweet content out of it. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. Hayes, you're not going to turn into a referee on me, are you?
No, come on now. I'm too petty for that. We don't need another Tony Brothers here. He's got that covered.
All right, well, I will say congratulations to you, Hayes. You correctly predicted on yesterday's show a Thunder win and that SGA would be the game score winner. His 23.7, just a notch better than Julius Randle, who put in 21.6 on the game score. But it wasn't looking great in the first half for SGA. 11 points on 2 of 11 shooting, not very efficient. But Locked On Thunder host Rylan Stiles says, to heck with efficiency. Shai did what he had to do to win the game.
Playoff basketball is a brute force. Playoff basketball is a linebacker. You can't be efficient in the playoffs if you're playing the style of play that Shai has to play. If you're worried about efficiency, you're worried about the wrong things. I think that at times Shai could get too wrapped up, and he's talked about this, could get too wrapped up in his own efficiencies and being that guy who makes over half his shots every single time he's on the floor. This Timberwolves defense is truly elite. They're the only team that can play man and fluster Shai and Jada the way that they do, and fluster them in the sense of making them take the difficulty of shots that they're having to take. It's like, yes, it wasn't efficient, but this was one of Shai's best games at controlling the game, at dictating how defenses tilted and moved across the court to free up his teammates, but also create driving lanes. Shai was the best player on the floor tonight. Shai was in command of this game tonight, and Shai was the MVP.
Matt, was that an MVP performance from Shai last night, and was his second half the biggest reason the OKC Thunder won Game 1?
It was good. It was fine. I'm not like blown away by it. I've seen Shai have much better games. I've seen him have better in the playoffs. He was great versus the Mavericks last year. This was not a great game. He was actually really kind of sloppy. I just went back and watched. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Here's an interesting one. They ran 41 pick and rolls in this game. Okay, Shai ran the majority of them. Only 13 of them came with Rudy Gobert as the primary defender. They scored 15 points on those 13 possessions, but there were 4 turnovers, and it was really only efficient because other guys made threes on kickouts. I think actually Shai's got a level he can get to that's going to be much higher than this, and he's probably going to have to, since I would think, Hayes, he's not going to get this type of whistle again ever in the history of mankind.
Well, that's very interesting. Shai's definitely gonna get the whistle, but I think one of the things that is that the defense of the OKC Thunder just completely stifled the Minnesota Timberwolves. You look at the second half; they shot the ball 35%, while the OKC Thunder shot 61%. from the field and 61% from three. Like, that's difficult when you're not shooting the ball well. And you can tell the defense really gave fits, and you can't have Anthony Edwards go scoreless in the fourth quarter. That is just unacceptable. Julius Randle held up his end of the bargain. He gave the on the left moments. The problem was that there was nothing on his right. And so at that point in time, it's difficult to beat the OKC Thunder if you're not firing on all cylinders. You need to have a balanced attack if you want to beat the Thunder, especially with Shai getting to the free throw line as much as he did yesterday.
I want to get to the free throw discussion with SGA in a bit. Also want to talk about Anthony Edwards not taking a lot of shots in the second half of this game, but I want to go off of a few things you talked about there. So with the Wolves not getting into the paint, Julius Randle after the game seemed to indicate like they knew how the OKC Thunder were going to guard them by sagging off a lot, packing the paint, and they just didn't hit their shots, and they seemed confident that, hey, game 2 would be different. Matt, are you as confident that they can shoot themselves out of this or back into this series in game 2 and beyond, or will they have to find a way to break up that logjam inside from OKC?
You can't. Like, I gotta be real quick. This is what drives me crazy when people are like, they took too many threes. Get to the paint. There's 4 dudes that are all elite defenders who force the most turnovers in the league waiting for you. OKC's gambit, they give up the most threes in the league for a reason, because they are literally like, we dare you. We dare you to hit threes on us. And the Wolves, it was Naz Reid, who's a 40% three-point shooter. Dante DiVincenzo, 39% three-point shooter. Reliable shooters missing these. But the thing is, Hayes, is that this has also been the other side of this coin. I do not have a way to explain it, because I'm watching these possessions and the missed threes, and some of them are great closeouts, and some of them are just not. It's just voodoo. These teams just miss versus OKC because of how physical I think they are. I don't have another explanation for it. There's no pathway to forcing the issue inside. You will lose. You're going to turn the ball over, you're going to get blocked, or you're going to miss. You have to hit threes to pull them out and then attack them. There's no other pathway.
Yeah, you gotta shoot the ball. Well, you can't just force it in the middle, to your point, because they're going to force a turnover, then they're going to get out in transition, and then your night's going to just suck, to be 100% honest with you, especially if you let them get in that rhythm. You have to shoot the ball well against the OKC Thunder. Then you can work yourself in the middle, and or you're going to have to live off putbacks and things like that. So they're going to have to play a lot tougher. And, I know we're getting into the free throw thing, but the OKC Thunder are this team that has this physicalness this physicality that they play with. And I think it's easy to think just tough through it. No, it's difficult when you're throwing waves, when you're going 10 deep into your bench and you're tired. That's how they outwork the different Nuggets. They wear teams down with a combination of being physical and how many different looks that they can throw at you. And we didn't even got to the 2 bigs that they have on the interior too. It's difficult to game plan against the OKC Thunder.
The Wolves also played into their game plan so badly. I have no idea what Finch was thinking pulling Rudy from this game plan in 21 minutes. He was only -2 in a game they lost by 20. And it's working. Shai does not want to challenge him off of the bounce. He's rejecting screens to go away from Rudy. Finch got caught up in this idea that you're going to be able to play small ball with OKC. You're not. You're never going to win going small versus OKC. It's a path to doom. Their game plan, they were sloppy. You mentioned Randall being so good offensively, Hayes. I will say, defensively, there was a lot of possessions where I was like, oof, okay, these kickouts, it's Julius over helping and ball watching. Shai gets downhill on him and they have to bring help, and there's kickouts. Julius was great offensively last night because he hit his threes, but they're going to need better discipline from that team, from everybody going forward in the series if they're going to have a chance.
There's a lot to dig into when it comes to this game 1. Julius Randle was good offensively. Anthony Edwards a little absent. That's coming up on Locked On NBA. We'll dig in to why that was. Plus, SGA, the whistle, we'll have that conversation. LeBron James is saying that the Boston Celtics are bored. Is there an answer for them in the offseason? And we're on Giannis watch. Giannis meeting with the Bucks soon. We'll see if any news pops on that. That's all coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by our friends at Skims. If you've been on the hunt for men's underwear that actually fits right, feels great all day, and doesn't stretch out or ride up, Skims has you covered. You've probably heard the hype before from your friends and family. I certainly have, and let me tell you, it's real. Skims Men's offers a full lineup of boxer briefs, classic briefs, cotton, stretch options, all designed for comfort, style, and movement. The perfect trio there. Whether you're hitting the gym, traveling for work, or just hanging out at home, these are the pairs that move with you and stay in place. If you want something for working out, the Stretch 5-inch boxer briefs gives you full mobility without that synthetic, overly athletic feel. If you prefer a classic look, the cotton 3-inch boxer briefs are soft, they're breathable, and they're built like the ones that you've always loved, just better. And if you're a briefs guy or curious to try them again, Skims nailed the sleek, secure fit that makes you forget you're even wearing anything at all without sacrificing support. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, make sure to select podcast in the survey and select our show, Locked On NBA, in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. There were a lot of people predicting before these playoffs began that we would be witnessing the ascension of Anthony Edwards into the face of the league conversation, whether he wanted it or not. Well, in Game 1, he barely showed his face, and that's a major problem for the Wolves. Here's both Locked On Thunder and Ben Beacon of Locked On Wolves with more.
The fourth quarter from Ant, the game is slipping away like sand through an hourglass. These are the possessions of our lives, trying to get back in this game and take Game 1 on the road. He has one field goal attempt.
Overall, I thought he disappeared in the second half a bit. Didn't score in the fourth quarter, was limited in the third quarter. I know he rolled his ankle at the end of the first quarter, but I mean, like, we've seen Ant do that every, 5 games at this point. I don't think that hindered him. I think he got taken out a little bit. He didn't get calls early in this game, and SGA did. And he's got to be tougher than that. He's got to understand, like, hey, look, I'm big and strong. I'm athletic. I play a certain way. I can avoid contact. I can go through contact.
This Thunder defense is similar to a Bill Belichick defense, where it's like, who was your best receiver? He would always take him away. And this Thunder team does that. Like, you're supposed to be a good rebounding team. You're supposed to be good in the paint. You didn't do it tonight against Oklahoma City because they didn't let you.
He had kind of already decided we're probably not winning this game. I hate to say that, but that's what it looked like.
All right, what do you think, Hayes? Was Anthony's absence in the second half more of a function of OKC's defense, or does Ant need to look inward for Game 2?
I think I'm going to go off Anthony Edwards' own words in this. He's looking inward. He talked about how he needs to be better off ball, how he needs to move more and take better shots. So I'm going to say, yeah, make no mistake, the OKC Thunder's defense is a huge reason why. But for the nature of the conversation, and because and I like to use players' words to hold them accountable to what they need to do, Anthony blames himself, so I'm going to blame Anthony Edwards as well. He needs to go out there and be better. He needs to make better decisions. He needs to play better off ball, assert himself a little bit better, and just find a way to fight through this OKC Thunder defense.
Game plan was bad. Like, game plan was just bad. Okay. This was a really uncharacteristically terrible performance, I thought, from Chris Finch. Like, look at some of these possessions in the third quarter. You got Naz Reid posting up. Why? Not off a switch, just posting. Just, let's try this. They tried so many post-ups in this game against a defense that, again, is going to swarm you. Why? Edwards played a little bit more off-ball in that second half, and the idea, what I think Ant's getting at, is like he didn't move enough in order to create those opportunities. I don't know that you're going to get those. OKC's not going to fall asleep on him. They might pack the paint versus everybody else. They'll stay home on him. The better move probably is to move the picks up. You got to be able to move your screen up to near half court, get him some runway. All those threes that Ant hit this year, this is the time to make that pay. He's going to have to be Steph Curry in the series a little bit. He's going to have to come off those screens high and take deep threes and punish the Thunder and quiet the crowd and have them be like, all right, we're going to have to stretch out, because once that happens, that back line opens up. That's the only way I can really see for him to get going. I don't know that, looking inward or this, it's going to have to be pretty simple. He's going to have to come off of picks and fire as soon as he gets space.
Okay. Love the basketball analysis from both of you on this game. Let's move into the discussion that's happening online about this game, which is Shai's foul shots. And in the playoffs generally, Doris Burke even brought up the foul merchant moniker on the broadcast. You heard Ben there in that last clip talk about how it may have taken Anthony Edwards out of the game a little bit. He picked up a technical foul when he threw the ball towards SGA after one of those foul calls. Do the Wolves have something to complain about here, Matt?
Yes. And the reason they do is because this was an uneven whistle. Sometimes you get whistles that are, you can do whatever you want on the interior, but you can't do anything on the perimeter. And sometimes you have games where it's the opposite, where it's like, no. If you're in the inside, lots of fouls on offensive rebounds, but there's more contact allowed on the perimeter. And sometimes, it's that's what you want. You want it to be balanced all over the floor, like physicality. This was a simply uneven game where for one player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he got touch fouls. And then Alex Caruso is out there committing judo and there's no call. And it's absolutely insane. And I understand that it's like, oh, well, you're a Nuggets guy. I'm not a Nuggets fan. I do the Locked On Nuggets podcast because I'm here in Denver. That's the team I cover. I'm telling you, there is an unevenness that's what bothered people last night. Now, I will say this. The Wolves' discipline was horrendous. You can't put your hand on his back when he's driving. He's going to flail, and he's going to look like he's getting pushed. And they're going to call a push on a back on a drive every time. Julius Randle's reaching, Hayes. Their discipline was atrocious as far as the Wolves go. But I can't sit here and say that the Thunder's was great. They were grabbing, pushing, holding everything and not getting called. I'm hopeful that with just a different set of officials, I think the officials had a really hard time last night with trying to officiate that game evenly with how Shai plays. I think that was a big part of the problem.
I love how you started it off. Like, to me, when I look at this, I never mind if a game's called, no matter how you want to call it. If officials come in that day and they say we're going to let basically everything but murder go. If that's even across the board, great. That's just how the game's going to be called that day. If we're going to call every touch foul possible. If it's even across the board, great. If that's what you want to do. I like the more physical side of it, but okay, cool. At least it's even. Last night it was not even. And regardless if it's just Shai and the foul merchant thing or whatever, you could tell that game was not being officiated the same way across the board. And that's where people do have the right to be upset and to call foul on that, because we should all be called the same way. If you're going to call something on one side, call it on the other. And that's the thing that I think was most triggering watching that game yesterday. And, Shai's going to do what he's going to do. I don't necessarily blame the player as much as some people, because the way I look at it and I say, if I could get away with it, I would every single time. It's up to the officials to call the game more evenly, in my opinion.
Well, that's part of the conversation too, right? Does Shai do this in a way that's really different from a lot of superstar or MVP level players in NBA recent history?
No, I mean, he's Dwayne. To me, it's Dwayne Wade. I see so much of the comparisons with Dwayne Wade. The way Wade uses his hips to get defenders out of position by doing those big, long steps, right? Like that Euro step that Wade used to do, and then he would pull back and shoot a floater while falling down because you've brushed up against him, you made contact with the body. Shai does that. He does it usually on a left side leaner floater. A lot of these are like, I'm telling you, so many of these are he drives, you're trying to like contest it, but you got a hand on his back. When he feels that hand on his back, he is going to the ground and he is going to make it look, because every official is going to protect the player in the air in that point. That's where I think he gets the majority of his drives. I've watched every Shai offensive possession this season. I'm telling you, that's where he draws them. It's not different, but it was very different in what the Thunder are allowed to get away with. The Thunder were one of the highest foul rate teams in the league this season and postseason. That's my question, Doug, is I don't mind the call Shai got. Where are the Wolves calls?
All right, let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Let's move to tonight's game. Pacers visiting the Garden for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Tony East of Locked On Pacers is all the way in the weeds of what he says will be a series full of matchup moves and counter moves. Here's Tony getting out his chessboard to figure out how to slow down the Knicks' attack.
I think you have to start with the weak link. In this case, that's Tyrese Haliburton, and go from there. If they can find a way to put Nesmith on Brunson and have Haliburton where they want him, I think they'd be okay with that. And so it would not shock me if that is a way that they started this, because finding the right spot for Tyrese Haliburton is a little challenging. It would also not shock me if the Pacers don't immediately copy what other teams are doing with this wing on a big and big on Josh Hart thing and guard it a little more traditional at first, just to see how it goes. Sometimes when a guard is on Towns, the Knicks don't go to him as much. There's just a lot of wrinkles to guarding the Knicks that have evolved throughout the season that the Pacers will have to figure out, right? It's not as easy as this guard your man, right? It's possible that all 5 positions are guarding not what you'd consider their traditional position to start this series. And so that is the thing that I think I will take the most away from Game 1 just strategically, is who's on who, how does it evolve even throughout one game.
Hayes, are you going to be as dialed into the cross-matching as Tony is there, or is there something else you think we should be watching instead in this Game 1?
No, I think the cross-matching is the perfect thing. How do you attack the weak spots. You look at the New York Knicks with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. While they're great offensively, you can attack them on the defensive side of the ball. Same thing with Haliburton, Nimbrand. If he gets switched on Jaylen Brunson, I don't think he can handle Brunson. So I think I hope there's going to be a lot of strategic planning from the coaching staff on how to manipulate and get certain players switched on other ones, and then use that to your advantage of you trying to score on the offensive side of the ball. I think this is going to be one of those series where matchups is going to play a huge role in that. And we could find that some players end up that were playing in other series, maybe they don't play as much in this series because they are being attacked by the other one. So whichever team could do that early and set that tone, I think that's going to be the team that wins this series and the first game.
I'm looking more at the macro stuff, stuff like the offensive rebounding advantage for the Knicks, which is going to be massive, versus the 3-point advantage for the Pacers, which should be considerable. I'm looking at stuff like, are the Knicks actually going to run more of an egalitarian offense and let other people touch the ball besides Brunson? Because OG should be able to get great switches for post-ups, and he's been lights out when he's been in that situation, able to bully guys. If they allow that, that's going to be a big thing, but they got to get him the ball and give him that opportunity. Can Towns stay out of foul trouble? Because if he can't, that Knicks offense, I think, is going to really dig back down into the mud, and that's where the Pacers kind of want this. On the other hand of this is, how is the Knicks transition defense? Can they get back and really guard and be able to stop them from getting into quick actions? Because that's where Indy is so dangerous. I think the cross matches are interesting, but I think eventually they're just going to be hunting Haliburton regardless, because that's how the Knicks play. And a lot of this is just going to be like, Hallie's just going to have to try and defend. He's just going to have to defend as best as he can and try and hold up here, because I don't think there's anywhere that they're going to be able to hide him enough.
Is there going to be pressure on Tyrese Haliburton to take on more of a scoring role to make up for some of that deficiency? Like, is he, because we've seen him score 20 plus, we've seen him score in the single digits. It's hovered around, I believe, 16 or 17 points a game. Like, is he going to have to be a 20 plus points per game scorer for the Indiana Pacers to win this series?
Only if they're behind in the series, right? So what they want to do is they want to use Hallie to put pressure, draw the big out, and then attack from the weak side or underneath. That's how they really prefer to do it. It's one of the reasons why Hallie's really impactful without actually doing anything a lot of the time. But if they're behind, it may just be like, yeah, we're going to dare you. Like, you're going to have to score. We're shutting down Nembhard. We're shutting down Nesmith. Siakam's not getting anything on OG. You're going to have to be the guy. And I don't know if Haliburton is wired that way. I still haven't seen it. There's times he takes over for stretches. Can he take over a game? We haven't seen it. So I think that's a really fascinating question going into the series.
Hayes?
Yeah, I think Haliburton's going to have to step up the scoring rate because you're going to need it. I just see that this is going to turn into one of those series where who can make the big shots down the stretches. And we know Tyrese Haliburton can, but that Brunson-Hallie matchup, I think, is going to be the one that kind of dictates the series. I know it's a lot of other role players and a lot of other players that have been playing good. They're deep teams, but I look at that being the matchup that's really going to dictate the series for either one of the teams.
Well, one thing's for sure, this is not going to be a boring series. LeBron James thinks the Celtics are boring. We'll dig into that coming up on Locked On NBA. Plus, Giannis Antetokounmpo, we don't know if he's going to ask out or not, but that hasn't stopped the conversation around our Locked On NBA local podcast. We'll get to a few of those deals, and I'll ask Matt and Hayes what they think about that coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Car Gurus. Shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting. But with confusing prices and hidden fees, the process can feel overwhelming. That's why I trust Car Gurus. They cut through the noise and help you find the best deals with confidence. Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S., with over 4 million listings. They verify dealers, analyze real prices, and give you the data that you need to make smart, pressure-free decisions. Need a deal you can trust? Car Gurus lets you compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. And my favorite feature, the price drop alerts, so that you know exactly when the perfect car hits your budget. Plus, their detailed vehicle information gives you peace of mind before you ever set foot on the lot. It's no wonder that SimilarWeb data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night. It's every game, every night, and it is on this feed on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. The Boston Celtics were a topic of conversation on the latest episode of LeBron James's Mind the Game podcast, and James said this, quote, "When you look at Tatum and Brown, this is years and years and years they've punched their 10,000 hours, but sometimes it seems like they get a little bored because of how great they are," unquote. John Corrales of Locked On Celtics gave his insider take on the take on this morning's episode of Locked On Celtics.
If I have one criticism about the Tatum/Brown era, is that it lacked a distinct, like, F you, up 20? Who cares? Might as well be up 2. We're going to go up 40. And they've had their fair share of 50-point games.
Yeah.
And other teams have a say, but I do think there's, like, it's not in their personalities. I think they let up. I think they feel like there's this, like, okay, we're not going to disrespect these guys. And, like, there's this, I do think this is part of the youth thing. We're not going to disrespect these guys. So we're going to pull off a little bit. When it's like, no, man, 48 minutes of basketball. And when the whistle blows, when the buzzer sounds at the end of 48, that's when you stop. You go into a blind rage. You go out there for 48 minutes. I don't want to sound like a movie coach, but like kill.
Kill. Hayes, is this the problem for the Celtics? Are they too bored? And if so, is there any way for Brown and Tatum to rekindle that once Jayson Tatum returns from injury? Or is it time to consider splitting up this duo and going another way?
I know I'm out on a ledge almost by myself here. I don't think that you should be splitting up Brown and Tatum. I just don't. Like, unless an amazing deal comes through, I just don't think you can. I think that's something you continue to build around until you can't build around it anymore. I think that's such a good 1-2 punch. And to say that they're bored, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you could say that about a team that's only won one title. Like, maybe you could say they aren't as hungry as what you would like. But I mean, you look at the way that this team, look at the number of games they've won over the last handful of years. Like, that doesn't scream like a team that's bored or is not taking this seriously to me. I do think they need a challenge, and I think the Cavs were going to be that challenge for them this year until things went the way that they did. But I'm not moving off of Brown. I'm not moving off of Tatum until I'm sure that I can no longer build around these two guys. And financials may cause that, but right now, I wouldn't be willing to do it.
The irony of talking about the lack of Mamba mentality when it comes to Jayson Tatum. I think I just kind of think they're more like the Spurs. Like, this is a question is, would you rather be the Spurs and be in contention every year for 15 years? Or do you want to try and be fiery and emotional and have like 1 or 2 windows, right? Like the KG era where it was like, I mean, that's the thing is like, they don't have that KG guy who's just like a psycho. You can't really force that either. On Jaylen Brown and Tatum staying together, that to me is entirely a Jaylen Brown question. If Jaylen Brown is like, hey, this has been great, but I kind of would like my own team. You're never going to move off from Jayson. I kind of want the opportunity to see if I can be the guy. Then I think you facilitate that if their team is willing to take that risk on him. If not, if Jaylen's like, no, I want to be a Celtic forever. I'm good being Jason's wingman the whole time. Then keep it together because it's proven to be successful enough and you can try and add different pieces. But I don't think you're ever going to get that kind of dog. You're not going to put that dog in them. Like, they're never going to be like that. And you're especially not going to do it with Joe Mazzulla. Like, you're never going to have that kind of play style because it's just like, hey, let's just win with math. That's not going to get guys excited in that kind of way. You can't force that kind of identity, I don't think. So best path, I kind of agree with Hayes. Like, it might be just best like, hey, this is good enough and you should be happy with that.
And it'll be really interesting to see just how Brad Stevens operates this offseason. If he wants to get ahead of a potential future problem or if he wants to just be risky and say, all right, this didn't work and we need to find something that does work. Or if he settles into more of a safer space of saying, let's try to keep as much of this talent as possible. I think.
Yeah, I think I don't know what to expect with Stevens. I just don't know how you navigate this gap here. A lot of it's going to depend on whether Brown gets surgery on the meniscus and what kind of surgery he gets on the meniscus and what that means for him. Like, there's a pretty decent chance that they're starting next season without Tatum or Brown. If you are that far behind, isn't your best path just be like, we're just taking a gap year? You've got they're young enough. You can do that. I just kind of feel like that's probably the best approach here. The question is, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but it's not really about Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis for me. I want to know about Derek White, what they want to do with him and what he wants for his career at age 30.
All right, because trade speculation doesn't wait for the NBA Finals, and because I want a reason to play that John Corrales kill, kill, kill sound again, we're going to play a game of kill or deal, and we're going to do it rapid fire style. So the way this game will work, is this a deal worth exploring, or should we kill it with fire and forget it ever happened? We're waiting on the results of a meeting between Giannis and the Bucks. Will he ask out? And if he does, will he have a full list of teams? Here's Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs on what it would take to get Giannis to Cleveland. Okay, Matt, kill or deal Giannis in Cleveland?
Kill. I don't like this idea at all, where it's like, look, it's Giannis. It's not like it's ever going to be a bad idea, but what you'd have to give up in that kind of situation, I think takes away from kind of your identity and your runway. Your window shortens dramatically. And yeah, it's like, do you want to go for the one title? Do you want to pull a Nico Harrison and be like, we're trying to win right now as opposed to over the next decade? And even then that was a dumb trade. I just don't think that there's a lot of where this makes sense. Look, if the Cavs are genuinely like, hey, we'll give you Evan Mobley for Giannis, we're willing to send you Evan Mobley, that's how much we want Giannis. Okay, cool. The Bucks should be all on board for it. I just don't think that Cleveland should be going this route. It's too hard to build a roster around those types of guys. I understand that the depth failed them in this postseason. It didn't fail most guys. And one of the things, again, I'll go back to this. We're seeing young teams really be the ones that are surviving. I don't know that you're going to have that opportunity with the injury luck that you've already had adding Giannis, who's over 30 now.
It's interesting. Playoff teams are getting younger and draftees are getting older. There's this weird convergence that's happening. Hayes, so Matt was a kill on that one.
Kill.
Hayes, what are you? Kill or deal on Giannis in Cleveland?
Yeah, kill it. And mainly just because, like, I don't want Cleveland to have good things. They already have a good team. I don't want them to have good things.
Okay.
So, no, kill it dead. We don't want Giannis in Cleveland. Are you crazy? Like, no, come on now.
Okay, well, if you don't like that, so you're kill as well.
Kill.
If you don't like Giannis in Cleveland, how about a trip to the Bay, Golden State, where Locked On Warriors host Charlie Walters says if the Bucks want to complete a post-Giannis, want to compete after trading Giannis, then the Warriors have the answer.
It's been well documented that the best route for the Bucks is to still field a competitive team, just do it in a different way if Giannis does indeed want out. And that different way could be a combination of Butler, Kuminga, and Podziemski. Like, there are some sweeteners in there for the Warriors to potentially get it done.
Okay, Hayes, Giannis in Golden State, kill or deal?
I mean, I like the idea of Giannis in Golden State, not for Jimmy Butler. Like, Jimmy Butler, he kills the Bucks. He's not going to play good if he becomes a member of the Bucks. I don't know if that's going to work out the way that they hope that it will, but I like the idea of Giannis in Golden State, but you got to find a different way to do it. I don't like it for Butler, not for the Milwaukee Bucks at all.
I'll say deal. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Warriors to be like, hey, we're going to extend the last few years of Steph's career, give him a legit chance at winning a championship. You got to send Jimmy elsewhere, though. I agree with Hayes there. I think it's a deal, but you got to send Jimmy to another team that wants to deal with his nonsense. I don't know who that is. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who possibly is like, ooh, me, but you got to get, like, whoever wants to sign up for and Over the Hill no longer is effective, probably was never as good as his hype made him out to be, only is really great versus the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round playoff Jimmy. If you want to do that on a max contract, you can definitely do that, but you got to find somebody else to take it that gets young players back in Milwaukee.
Whew. We end with Matt Moore killing Jimmy Butler.
Kill.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on this feed on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy our beautiful game tonight. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.